The Fire and the Stone. A parable about anger. In the dry hills of the east, where the earth cracked under sun and silence ruled the wind, there lived a solitary monk in a valley where nothing grew. The soil was red and coarse, scattered with stones worn smooth by centuries of heat and sand. There were no trees, no streams, no birdsong. Only a single path wound through the desolation, lined with cairns built by unseen hands. The monk lived in a hut made of mud and rock, its shape irregular, shaped not by design but by patience. He had come to the valley long ago, not to escape the world, but to face what the world stirred within him. Before silence found him, his life had been marked by rage. Not a rage of noise and violence, but a silent, boiling fire that consumed joy, hope, and sleep. It arose without warning, inflamed by injustice, by pride, by betrayal, by the clumsiness of others. It burned bridges and left no ash. And though he wore the robe of discipline and the face of serenity, it lived beneath his skin like a restless ember. So he walked into the valley where no one else remained. There, under an unrelenting sky, he began his work. Each morning he would gather stones from the valley floor. Some were heavy, some sharp, others smooth as eggs. He placed them around the hut in slow spirals, one stone per breath. At first he did this to build, to occupy his hands. But over time, the stones began to speak in silence. They taught him about stillness. Each stone bore the weight of years. Each had been shaped not by sudden force, but by time, wind carving edges, water tracing cracks, sun fading their fire into calm. And so, he began to understand the shape of anger through the patience of stone. In the evenings he sat before a pit he had dug, where he lit a small fire. The flames danced wildly at first, crackling with hunger. But if left alone, they softened. If not fed, they faded. And always beneath the fire, the stone remained, unmoved. One day, the winds rose. Dark clouds swept across the sky like bruises. The monk's fire scattered. Dust flew. From across the valley, a caravan appeared, a band of travelers lost and quarrelsome, drawn to the valley by accident or fate. They saw the hut and approached with heavy feet. Their presence was loud. They argued. They accused. Each voice sought to rise above the others. The monk watched in stillness. The old anger stirred within him, rising like smoke in dry wood. Their clamor invaded the silence he had cultivated for years. But instead of reacting, he stepped aside. He watched the fire within him swell. It roared not at them, but at what they represented. Intrusion, disorder, the breaking of peace. Yet in watching it, he saw its shape clearly. It was not strength. It was not power. It was heat with no direction. So he let it burn. He sat alone beneath a rock outcrop, letting the fire of his fury rise without restraint, inside, not out. He felt it consume his breath, his spine, his chest. But he did not move. He did not strike. He did not suppress. He observed. And soon the fire, like all fires, began to feed upon itself. It turned inward, then died. Ash remained. He took that ash and scattered it over the soil. The travelers moved on, unaware of what had happened. But something in the valley had changed. Not visibly, but in weight. The silence returned, but now it held something deeper. The anger had not vanished. It had been honored, not denied. It had been felt, not fed. Years passed. The monk continued his work. The circles of stone expanded. The fire pit aged, its edges blackened, smooth. In time, grass grew where ash had settled. Then, mossy. Then, impossibly, a single flower with petals the color of fading embers. He did not celebrate. He watched. He learned. In his final years, the monk no longer needed to gather stone. He walked the valley and listened to what remained. The anger still visited him from time to time, but it no longer ruled. It came like a storm seen from afar, noticed, respected, but not obeyed. He died as he had lived, without spectacle, without grievance. Only silence bore witness. Travelers still pass the valley. Some say they feel a strange heaviness there, not oppressive, but deep. As if the land holds a memory of fire that once burned, and of stone that once watched without judgment. Those who stay too long speak of hearing their own hearts more clearly, and some, in the presence of that stillness, find themselves weeping, not in sorrow, but in release. The stone remembers, the fire has taught, and the flower still blooms. Reflection. This parable teaches that anger is not inherently wrong or to be exiled, but must be faced without fuel, seen without flinching. In observing it without acting from it, we allow it to teach us. Anger burns fast, but presence remains like stone, enduring and calm. Like the monk, we learn not by denying the fire, but by refusing to become it.